students. My name is Jesus Petrina, your English tutor, English 11 and 12. Welcome to the presentation of 2020. This presentation covers the exam for April, August, and November. At the beginning here, I just want to emphasize that you must not just stick on the presentation, that the presentation should just be a guide, but you must read through your study guides and the other textbooks that are prescribed. So we have 3 prescribed books for this module. This is English 12. We have the book which is written by Ratrin and Pincus in 2020. This is an English handbook and study guide. There's a textbook. It's more on grammar and literature. So you cannot do without this book. If you don't have one, please try to get it before the exam so that it can help you in your preparation. The second book is the study guide, your study guide that you got from Iol office. This one is a book that covers a lot about your module, about your course. So please make sure that you read through, you understand each and every content or title, topic which are in there. And the third one is the one which is written by Thompson in 2001. It's a little bit old, but it's very useful. It's called Teaching Primary English. It's a teaching handbook. This one, it covers the parts that deals with teaching methods, like where you meet questions in your assignment asking you how to use the different teaching aids. So there are some examples and explanation on those questions in this textbook. Please have one for your preparation for the examination. Okay, we move on. Now we are in the content of our presentation. There are some terms that always need to be defined, and this mostly comes at the first question. And maybe you have also noticed this one in your assignment when you are doing your assignment, that the first question mostly cover these knowledge-based questions where you have to show your understanding about different terms that are commonly used in our subject. So here are some, but this doesn't say that these are the terms that will come in the examination, but you should just read everything in your guide, and this one we must make sure that you understand them better. We have terms like neologism, and what do we mean by this? The neologism, these are the new words, you know, as we move on, as we develop, as we move with new development in the world, we find out that new terms are coming up, and this is what we refer to as neologism. What is that then? These are new coined terms, words or phrases that might be commonly used in everyday life, but yet to be formally accepted. Here I gave you the example of the word Google. This Google came with the technology of the computer. We didn't have this type of terms, but the moment we get computer, then we know there are some words that are used when people are talking about a computer system, about internet. Then these words, Google, is one of the words that you can say it's a new word because it just came with development of technology. There are a lot of them. So whenever you are defining a term, try to give an example. Try to find an example as you are preparing for your examination. Try to see what are those new words that came with the developments. So give 1 or 2 under your definition. We have terms like plot. This one is in literature section. And what is a plot? A plot is a series arrangement of incident, ideas, or event. You know, in most cases, literature, there are characters. It's always in form of a play. And the way the play is arranged, the way the ideas are presented, that is what we call that it's a plot. We move on, student. Okay. Okay. This this slide, it's more on knowledge of this subject, what the objectives, the outcomes, what you should be able to do after completing this course or module. And I have just highlighted few for you here, that you must know that after the preparation, before you sit for your examination, you have a detailed understanding about this part of the module, because this is where, this is the, let me say, this is the main section or the backbone of the course. The moment you know these objectives, then at least you could be able to conclude that you understand the course itself, and you'll be able to perform what was expected for you to do. Okay, we have literal work, which is divided into 3 types. And what are these 3 types of literary work? We have a novel. I know all of us, we know what a novel is. A drama, we know what a drama is. And a poetry. So you must know how to differentiate this type of literary work. You must know what is a novel is and how it's different from a drama. You don't know, a question might come in that angle, asking you to differentiate or to define. Just know you understand those terms, and at least you could be able to differentiate between the 3. Different elements and perspective of literature, as I have just mentioned them earlier, you must understand them. And I have just given you a little bit just of example of those terms. And you must not stick on this one. This one is just an example. You read, you understand it, but you must read further in your guide. You must research more, maybe from different other books in library, language books in the libraries, or maybe from the internet. And then you will have a concrete understanding about all these. So the one that I have just gave you as an example is this one, drama. What is a drama? A drama refers to as a literary composition involving conflict, action, crisis, and atmosphere designed to be played by the players on the stage. That one is a drama before the audience. So in a drama, you will see people acting, playing as characters, taking different characters, and they are playing on stage where there are audience watching them. That one is a drama. The drama then is divided in 2 parts. You must know those parts of drama. In fact, there are not 2, there are many, but I will suggest that at least know 2 of them. There are 2 types of drama. We have the one that is called a tragedy. We have a comedy, problem play, phrase, comedy of manner, fantasy, and a melodrama. Those are the types of drama. Drama, it's one of the literary work or literature work, and it has its component. Know that, be able to know, I mean, to define or to describe or to discuss at least 2 of this type of drama, and you must know in detail what a drama is. And we have a novel. This one is referred to as a fiction, written as prose and intend toward folk tales, myth, and epics. The elements of drama and novels are almost the same. Are you seeing that? They all have plot, character, setting, theme, and structures. The novel uh, um, elements, they are almost the same, except the designs, but the elements are the same. All of them are having characters. You find a character in a novel, and again you find a character in the drama. The setting, the theme, and the structure, all those elements can be found in both. Okay. The last one, which is literature work, the last part that we are going to talk about in this presentation is the poetry part, which is which is referred to the imaginative awareness of experience expressed through meaning, sounds, and rhythm, language, choice so as to invoke emotional response. When we are referring to poetry part, these are the poems, and if you can think of a poem, the way it's structured, the way the reading, its flow, the beats, all those types of a poem, it's really different from other elements that we have talked about. So know that how to differentiate these things from others. And this one, there is a rhythm, the beat of the language, and also the choice of word, the word, how the word are chosen in a poem. It always in a certain manner or in a certain style. So understand these things. Then we are done with this part of literature part, where we have talked about drama, novel, and a poetry part. Now, even it's a lot. If you check in your guide, it's a lot. This is just a short form or a summary of what is in there, because I'm trying to at least to summarize the ideas for you here, which are in our guides or in our books. We move on to part of speech. Part of speech. This one is where most of us might be referred to as grammar or language work. What is part of speech, or let me say, what things that we call that they are part of speech? There are different parts of speech in language teaching. Here I gave you few examples. If you go in a language book or a grammar book, you see nouns, you see verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and so on. So those are the structures that we call that they are part of speech. In this case, know what a noun is. A noun, I have just picked up when I was marking your assignment that some of you are not English teachers. But if you are an English teacher, then you know these things, you know them, because these are the things that we always do at the beginning of the first term when we receive new learners. These are the things that we take them through, so that when they start writing their essays, they won't be a lot of difficulty and struggle, since these are the things that will guide them. But let me just touch a little bit on each and every part of speech that I gave here as an example. We have nouns. Okay. Nouns, this one in most cases, it refers to, they refer to name. These are naming words, in short, if you can say so. The verbs, these are the doing words, the words that show actions in the sentence. And then adverbs, these are the word that describe the verb. And adjectives, they describe a noun. Okay, we move on. We go to direct and indirect speech. And what are these two? The direct speech is to quote a person exactly what the speaker has said. You are quoting the person just word by word, exactly as the speaker has just said. That one is a direct speech. It usually placed inside quotation marks, and we put in by reporting. We use reporting verbs. For example, if you have to quote what I have just said, if I said she is eating, then in a direct speech, you have just to say she said that. That one is now that we call that it's a reporting verb. She said that she is eating. And what I have said, then it should be in a quotation mark, just to indicate that you quote exactly as the person has said. Okay, there are some few examples in your book, which is written by Latrin and Pincus, in case you did not get this one clear. Another thing we have okay, now we are done with direct speech. Let's go to indirect speech. So indirect speech is when you give the message as the person has said it, but in this case you are not saying the exact words as the person have used. You can put it in your own words, but the message is still the same as the person has put it. But not necessarily you are quoting the person word by word as in the other one, the direct speech. Just know the difference between the two. Okay, we move on. Now we come to things that I want you to understand, things that I want you to have touch much more when you are preparing for examination. This doesn't say it's April or August or November, but it's just as you are preparing for examination, make sure that you understand also this term. We have the elements and perspective of literature. We already talked about them. We have this one now, which is a challenge to most of us, which says teaching English in language context. I said there is a book which is about teaching method, which is I've said it's written by Thompson. This one has more on different teaching method. This one is also a teaching method or strategy of teaching a language. When you are teaching a language in context, just take that word context, know what is the context is. So means if we are talking about context, means that thing is not in isolation. It's not in isolation, so it's in a certain context. So meaning the language here is being taught in either in a poem or either in a certain story. It's not in isolation, it's in a certain context. Maybe you want to teach about verbs and you come up with a poem. And in that poem, you know a lot of words that are in there, they are verbs. because those are the targets. That's how we would say we are teaching language in context. So this one is different with teaching language in isolation, because in isolation, if I'm teaching language in isolation, I can just, if I want to teach verbs, I can just start writing verbs on the board as they are. They are not in a certain form. That one is in isolation. But in context, they should be in a mixture of other words, or in a story, or in a poem, or in a game, and so forth. Okay, we move on. The use of songs. How can you use a song as a learning tool in your class? When we are talking about language, so we refer in most cases to the grammar. Now you have a song and you want to teach nouns. How can you incorporate those nouns in your song? And how can you unfold your song for your learners to understand that your target is to teach nouns? That is the question. I mean, yes, that is what is the question is trying to get from you. Just how to teach a language, which is where you are using a song. Those who have been they have taught grade 1, 2, 3. I know you will be better in answering this question. Understanding of adverbs and adjectives. Know what are the verbs and know what are the adjectives. This one is a repetition. We talked about them already. Ways of teaching new language structure. When you are introducing new language structures, maybe you want to introduce part of speech, or you want to introduce adjectives. How you go about introducing this one to your students. How to analyze a poem. The other book of Latrin and Pincus, which is a literature book, there are more on how to analyze a poem, what you should look at, how do you find the beats, how do you find the schemes, and so on. So go and read that book and understand on how to analyze a poem. The characteristic of a cartoon, they are in our Latrin and Pincus textbook. Just try to have an understanding of a deep understanding on them. Okay, then we come to this one where we are talking about the importance of planning a lesson. Yes, why do we plan lessons? Some of you are saying you are not teachers, but if you are not a teacher, then try to find more information on why it's very important for a teacher to go to class prepared. If you are a teacher, so these are obvious things, you know already the answers to this question. Why do teachers have to plan? Please find out more. There are more benefits on this one. Some say time management. If you have planned, then there's no ways that you can go beyond your time. The controlling of the class is also, it will be also easy, since you know what activities that you have to do in your class, and you also not go out of topic. If you plan to teach about literature part, there's no way that you can go teach other things apart from the one that we have planned for. That's why those are few things that I can give you about the importance of planning a lesson. But I know we can get more on this one. Try to have more points on this one, but the way you are going to answer your question in your examination, it will depend on the marks that are there. Method of choosing literature. What methods that we can use when we are choosing storybooks or poem books for the learners? What are those things that we look at? Some are saying the age of the learners are very important when you are choosing a literature, because you cannot choose grade 12 literature for grade 6 learners. Definitely they will not understand the terms and even the message which is in there, because it will be for higher thinking and they are very small. So there are more points in our guide that are there. Please go and read them. How to use different teaching aids. The teaching aids, I said the other book of Thompson, it has more on how to teach language. All the explanations are given in there. It will guide you better on how to use different teaching aids in your class. The principles used to assess learners effectively. What are those principles that we use when we are assessing our learners? We're assessing learners, assessment, we know what is an assessment already. Now, what are those principles that we look at when we are assessing our learners? These points, I don't want to touch them more because they are specifically straight from our books. Go and read and try to research also and find out some other books, what are they saying about this, so that you cannot just have idea from our textbook. We must research and have a broad understanding that we can also be able to use in our classes. Okay. Literature is very important in teaching language, because learners learn more from literature, either language wise and so on. Now this part is asking now for you to give the benefit. The benefit is just the advantage or the importance of literature to the learners. Why do we have our learners to read stories or literature stories or poems? Why do they have to read those books? Or I just have just dropped down here some few examples. It builds experience, it develops learners' thinking skill, because when the moment learners read the stories, they imagine, they think, and try also to build some thinking skills when they are reading whatever they are reading in the book. They try now to associate what they see every day to what they are reading. So that's how the learners' thinking skills are being developed. Help learners to deal with problems. If you are reading from books where they're talking about different issues, different problems, and how they were solved, from this one, our learners can be able also to solve problems. They maybe come across with the same problems in their life experience, but the moment they read something, a certain solution from a literature book, they could be able to also to use that idea to overcome their problem. Okay, the next section is where they are saying ways of developing love of reading in learners. This is culture of reading in some cases, where I ask how you can develop a culture of reading in our learners. I always receive good points under this question, and I like this part. I always say it because we have a problem of reading in our let me say in our schools, especially the young learners. They are struggling with reading, and I want to cultivate this culture of teachers to stimulate their learners to love reading, to develop that culture of reading in their learners. So this question is just asking you how you should do that. Then what are type of activities that you should do in your class for your learners to love reading. Okay, there are now approaches that we use in our country. There are different approaches in our country. In fact, there are different approaches that can be used in teaching, but in our country we use learner-centered approach. So in terms of language then, even that this learner's approach, I know most of us, we understand it. It's defined here in the slide, but I will not go through. But what I want to emphasize here is that you should know how to use learner-centered in your language classroom. And I might be also interested to know how you should use this approach now. What type of activities that you do in your English class that's showing that you are using this approach. It has a lot of benefits, as they are said here. they are mentioned under here and in this slide. Okay, you can go beyond this one and find more benefit about learner-centered approach. But prepare, when you are preparing for the examination, know the benefit of learner-centered approach, and secondly, know how to use it in an English class. If the question comes this side, that you must explain how you should use learner-centered approach in your English class, be able to tackle it. If the question comes also the other way around, that you must give the benefit of learner-centered approach in English class, please be able to also to hit it hard. All right. This one is also one of the approach of learning, which is called problem-based learning. What is this one? This question was also in our assignment, and most of you have answered it very well. Just also know how to, just as you did in your assignment, what is a problem-based learning, what are the activities that we can see in a class of which is using the problem-based learning, and so forth. Okay, the advantage might not come around, but know what is it and what is expected from the learners and what is expected from the teachers. All right. We have advantage of group work. You know, learner-centered, if you cannot mention about learner-centered approach without mentioning the term group work. Learner-centered approach is more on group work, teamwork, interacting, and so forth. If I come in a class which is using a learner-centered approach, you see learners sharing ideas and all those type of things. You must know what are those benefits in a group, advantage of group work. What are the learners benefiting when they are working in a group, when they are doing their work in group? What are the benefits? I have just listed 2 of them here, but we have more than that. We have a lot of them. Please try to have enough understanding about the benefit of group work. Okay, I highlighted earlier about textbook or literature books when we are choosing the literature book for our classes. What are the things that we look at? Here are some examples, factors to consider when selecting literature for the learners. These are the, literature for the learners. This question always, when I'm marking the papers, I have realized that you are mixing up this question with the question of how can you develop culture of reading in your learners. These are 2 different questions. You know, this one is talking about selecting just how to, what are the factors or what are the things that you look at when you are choosing the books. Maybe you are in a bookshop, you are sent by your principal to go buy books for your class. You are a grade 6 teacher, English teacher. Please go to Walton or wherever, Macmillan, go buy some books, English reading books for your class. What will you look at? This is the question that you want to find out, factors to consider when selecting a literature book for your learners. And the other one, which is talking about developing culture of reading in our learners. This one is in your class. This happens in your class. What are those activities in your class that you do that will really stimulate your learners to love reading those books that you have selected? Please be clear on these two questions. Don't mix them up. Most of you students, you have lost marks just because of these few issues. Okay. And again, we spoke about on teaching new words, how to teach new words to your learners, English words to your learners. Here I just gave you some few examples, and I know we have some in our guide, and of course we can get more in our when we are doing our research on the internet and so forth. Just know how to teach new language. Learners learn by doing. If you are introducing a new word to your learner, make sure that you either have a concrete object that you show to the learners. This is the book. That's how learners will remember that word. Illustration and so forth. So there are some few examples I said in your guide. Please go and read them and understand them, and be able to give clear explanation and examples when you are giving your activities. Be able to, don't just say illustrate and you leave it hanging. Please go more in detail. How should we illustrate then, to make your learners understand that new word that we want to introduce to them. All right, there are a few of them here. I won't go through them, but go and read them. Now we comes to this one, ways to assist learners who cannot read. I know we have a lot of learners, especially this junior, or let me even senior primary. We have a lot of learners who cannot read, and we want to do away with this problem. We want all our learners in our class to be able to read English. What are the ways that we can use? Okay, some of you are telling me support learning. Don't just say support learning and you stop there. How can you support these learners? What are the activities that you do in your class that help learners to read, that are supporting these learners to know how to read? Okay, for sure your explanation will be depending on the marks that will be on the question, but please, student, don't be stick to the guide all the time. If you understand the question in your own way, if you'll be able to explain the question from your class teaching experience, do so. I'm not encouraging students to copy, to go and memorize rote training. I'm not encouraging that. Understand the question, read the guide, understand it, and be able to answer the questions in your own words, in your own way, in your own experience. If you are a teacher and you are being asked ways to assist learners who cannot read, and this is the thing that you do on a daily basis, why should you try to close your eyes, bite your fingers, and so forth, remembering what is in a guide instead of just going on how you do it in your class? Please let's try to have open-minded, to be open-minded and answer questions the way we understand them. We move to this one, or the question which was in your assignment also. Some of you were saying this question is not in our guide. Yes, it's not in your guide, but it's part of your model. It's part of your objectives, learning outcomes. This is it's even very simple. You do not need to be a teacher to answer this one. It's just asking ways how your learners can assist you to develop learning materials for literature study. What are those activities that you can give to your learners so that learners can also develop learning materials for your class? Maybe you can ask, okay, you can ask learners to be in groups or maybe individual, whatever strategy you use, it's fine. This group must go and draw a dog for us. Learners have talent. Some learners are good drawers. You see nice pictures that comes from the learners. And maybe you use this now as when we are teaching nouns. Dog is a noun. Maybe when we are teaching nouns, you could use that picture just to illustrate. This is what a dog. And the dog is this word dog. What is a dog in our part of speech? It's a noun. So in that way, learners has already assisted you in developing up learning materials. So there are different ways that we can use. You can even maybe, yes, it's just to give learners task to go and do something. They can also be feel ownership of what is in their class. In most cases, we find learners are destroying our teaching aid that we have pasted in our wall in our classes. But if that learner knows that it's his or her work, you might not find the learners destroying the learning materials because they know it's theirs. Okay, this is just asking you how to use learners also in developing up of the learning materials in your class. These are the assessing, the importance. Why do it very important for teachers to assess the learners? Why do we need to find out, to record marks for the learners? Okay. In fact, this was the last slide for our presentation on our specific matters of our subjects. Go and read whatever we have just talked about in our presentation. Use your assignment to guide you when you are preparing, and mostly your teaching guide. Your learning guide, you cannot do without that one. And don't pick questions or pick a topic from the presentation. When we are preparing for April, just read everything. Don't say this was in an April examination and I'm going to write August, so means maybe it was in April, it will not be in August. Try, if you want to pass, try to read everything. Make time, start now, so earlier the better. I am around in case you want some assistance, but my time have changed. I usually advise students to call me after 2, but now I'm a little bit busy. My time is so tight. You can try to get hold of me after 5, but you can text me during the day, but I'll just answer after 5. You can email me, but yeah, with emailing maybe I'll reply, or I'll give response immediately. But if you did not get a response, no, you'll get it after 5. And I'll also look at the emergence of the question. If I see this person needs immediate answer, then I will try to make time for that person. Okay, I will just wish you a good luck here, and make sure that you are not alone, and start preparing now. Thank you.